Greetings, I'm Suzanne Tidkemeyer. I used to write about the evangelical quiverful world for over 10 years at a place called Pathos. Right now, I'm doing a breakdown of the theology, the average evangelical theology that can be found in HBO's The Righteous Gemstones. How do I know about it? Well, I lived that world for a long time. I've been out for almost 18 years now. So it's interesting to go back and look at this stuff, particularly knowing that Danny McBride, the creator, went to church as a kid in the same general area of Virginia that I lived in. And I believe, just based on some things he said, that our churches were probably linked in some weird way. We had a pile of churches who were part of our presbytery. They were all independent of each other. They were all interconnected. It was kind of weird. But they were what I call tacos, totalitarian, authoritarian church organizations. Non-denominational, making it up as they're going along. As you see today, I'm in my fabulous studio. Not a YouTube studio, a studio where I actually do arts and crafts, where right now I'm currently doing some quilting. I'm trying to come up with a California king size quilt for my bed that I like. I made 3 that I don't like. So here I am. All right, so I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to do it. What am I going to do? I'm going to break it down. Today I'm going to talk about season 1, episode 1. So I'm trying to do this every day or so now that I have a lot happening in my life that I have to keep up with. I'll watch an episode every couple days, take notes, and do a video until I'm all caught up. Okay, the interesting thing to me about episode 1, season 1, is it was pretty much an overview of what we can expect. You got all your characters introduced with all of their bizarre little quirks. I got quite the laugh out of it. But there's a lot of things that we have to talk about, because there's a lot of things, if you're not part of the evangelical world, you might not understand what they're even referring to or the depth of it. I'm trying to read my own horrible handwriting. We need to talk first about the ritual of baptism, because that is what the show opens on. I laughed when I saw that sequence because there are elements of it that actually came out of a real story that happened with pastors in Kenya, I believe it was. And I got a laugh out of the fact that they were singing, "Our God is an awesome God," having sung that song in various languages through the years at conferences and all sorts of things. That is a very common song that evangelicals like. It's over 30 years old. It's an oldie but a goodie. So, the thing about evangelicals and baptism, I was raised Catholic. And in the Catholic religion, as in many, you're baptized as a child. They baptize you when you're born so that you don't go to hell if something happens in the middle of the night. Say you have crib death. Your parents can be assured you'll go to heaven. So that's why in those religions it's done that way. But the thing is, these taco churches, they have a completely different belief. And most Protestant churches hold the same belief. And the belief is, if you're going to get baptized, you better damn well be doing it as an adult or a child, but you have to make the conscious decision to take the step to declare to the world that you are a believer who's going to follow Christ. So that's what the significance of baptism is for these kinds of churches. This is something that they really insist upon. My husband was baptized last week. I had to look at him and say, why didn't you get baptized with the rest of us 30 years ago at our old church? So there was squabbling between Kelvin and his brother Jesse. There was splashing back and forth, there was squabbling, and then somebody turned on the wave machine. The squabbling's pretty realistic, I think. Like I said, this is a story that I've heard of before, parts of it. for definite sure. But when they get back on their plane, the Holy Spirit, and they have three jets. I don't know if you guys remember Creflo Dollar a few years ago begging for $60 million he could buy a new jet. Any ministry that has three jets is monumentally wealthy. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's pretty plain to see. My heart broke for Judy, just knowing what I know now from having seen the last couple episodes of the Righteous Gemstones. Judy met them at the airport, and it's pretty obvious that Judy is struggling against patriarchy. I gotta tell you, anybody who's a female in the church, in the evangelical church, is gonna bump heads with patriarchy, unless you're the complete doormat type that lays down everything and says, use me as you will, I'm going to submit. Well, we all know that Judy is not very submissive. And that's not a bad thing, actually. Being able to think for yourself and question theology is not a bad thing. I used to say that Judy was my spirit animal. I can't say that anymore. I will say Judy is my survivor. She's somebody I now look up to, knowing what she came out of. Okay. So, patriarchy, as defined by the evangelical world, I was called at the free pass that lets a man do every damn thing he wants to do, and there's a lot of truth to that. Women are not taken seriously. We get to see that in Judy. She has learned some Chinese. She tries to impress her father. He says, "That's all right, baby girl," something like that, and just puts her down and just like, whoops, not anything. He doesn't take her seriously. None of them take her seriously because of this dangerous, poisonous theology. And I want to talk a little bit later about that because that's the same theology that Jesse's wife is acting under, Amber. And Amber has soft power, soft patriarchy, soft complementarianism. But I'll talk on that just a bit later. I laughed out loud. We saw Keith upside down in the man-child cave. What do I mean by the man-child cave? Well, once everybody got home, Kelvin went to his home where the living room was just filled with video games. And it looked to me, I just was like, oh man, this is a man-child cave if I've ever seen it. That also is a reoccurring theme in Evangelical Town, is this, I don't want to grow up, this Peter Panism. You see this a lot with guys, particularly the unmarried ones. And sometimes after they get married too. So this was pretty on the money. If I had to pick a theme for this episode, it would have been hypocrisy, because we get to see Jesse be blackmailed over some bad actions he did away at a conference. And we get to see Judy again and again hiding BJ, her fiance, from the rest of her family because they can't know that they're living together. I thought it was interesting. Kelvin kept calling out hypocrisy. And kept calling out the hypocrisy of it, particularly after he learned of Jesse's adventures snorting cocaine with topless prostitutes in that hotel room. Once that came out, he was like, you all are a bunch of hypocrites. Let me tell you something. There is a lot of evangelicalism that runs on hypocrisy. It seems to be something that goes hand in hand with that exact type of belief. I don't really understand why it always goes with that, except I'm going to say that it is a religion where most people are showing a facade. They're showing the facade they want everybody to see, and the truth behind the mirror is always way different. I learned that the hard way a number of times at my old church. I ain't got time for that. I'm 100% real all the time, who I am. Warts and all. Warts, wrinkles, and gray hairs and all. Oh, so the devil represented by the guy who's blackmailing Jesse, wanted $1 million. Okay? $1 million to keep from showing this video. And I had to laugh because Judy really stepped it up for her brother. I was glad to see that the siblings, although they squabble and they don't always get along, they love each other. And there is a bond there. She got the money out of the church ceiling. That storyline also took place at one of the churches I know of. Not that they had a crazy sister of a pastor doing this, but I can think of at least 2 times where large amounts of money were taken and hidden away that involved the church, and one time a church secretary. It happens. You put people around that much money, some of it cash, some of it is going to disappear. It just made me kind of laugh about the whole thing because Judy is so repressed that she has to come up with different ways to express herself, and sometimes it's not so pretty or good. And then we get to see Amber exercising her soft patriarchy. The only thing she can do is to manipulate others with that, including her husband. There's a lot of jealousy and manipulation that also goes hand in hand with some of these evangelical churches like this. Amber really shut down Victoria and shamed her really hard and accused her of being jealous and said that it was the devil jumping into her. And Amber was hanging out with the wives of Jesse's buds. Chad, Matthew, and Gregory. Levi's not married. But she was hanging around with the wives of the Frozen Chosen, the wives of the guys who were involved with Jesse and involved with the church. And she was being kind of the B word there. And we got to see her use her power to manipulate her quote friends. And I'm going to call it quote friends because the way they were acting with each other and they were all doing some kind of thing and bragging on their husbands, so common. I've seen that happen 1,000,000 times too. And then we got a really good look at how churches can use music, images from mission trips, and exhortations to raise money. I'm just going to say, this is common too. It is no secret that worship music is to put you in the right mindset. If you're going to a good church and the worship music is correct and everything is going well, the music is supposed to bring you in, usher you into the presence of God, and put you in the right frame of mind to praise and worship and pray. But sometimes it is used to manipulate you to give more. And the way it was shown on there, that's exactly what they were doing. It was a cynical money grab, also not unheard of. And between that and the restaurant fight towards the end, I just could not get over that. But I know there's a lot of jealousy, like I said, between pastors and who has what and who has how many followers or whatever. Johnny Seasons, the pastor from Locust Grove, the Locust Grove church it was worried about, the Gemstones, putting a prayer center in Locust Grove, had showed up and confronted them all. Jesse and Kelvin confronted him and said, talk to the hand before they turned into their own crazy sibling fight, which was pretty ridiculous. And then we have the siblings coming together at the very end to defeat the devil, the guy in the devil mask who's trying to blackmail Jesse. And a lot of crazy stuff goes down. I don't want to spoiler it for you. But the scene where they meet the devil doesn't quite play out like you think it might. And a lot of crazy stuff happens that has nothing to do with theology at all. I will say I had a really huge laugh at something I did not see the first dozen times I saw this episode, and I've been thinking about it. Calvin used a word called pitos to describe somebody in a negative fashion. And I really laughed over that because here I've only heard pendejo. If you're a pendejo, you're not a good thing. It literally translates to pubic hair. Pitos, on the other hand, is also equally insulting and equally can refer to a part of the anatomy that is jutting out of the pubic hair. So for that to come, that slang to come out of Calvin's mouth just kind of blew my mind. Um, the Spanish have so many interesting words, and that one was one I was unfamiliar with. I live here in Costa Rica. We have slang here. Like, everybody kept saying May, May. And I was like, what is that? And it's something that's just local in this part of Costa Rica, and it basically means dude. Or my friend, you would say May to somebody who was a good buddy of yours, but not anything else. So there you go. That's my Righteous Gemstones Theology, Season 1, Episode 1, where we're being introduced to all the players and their problems. I'll be back with another episode in a few days. I'm really enjoying this. This is giving me something to do while I'm hiding in various air-conditioned spots of the house, because yesterday when I was doing my video, the air conditioning unit in our bedroom died. I have my desk and my computer in the office, but now I'm forced to roam around and show you various rooms of the house until it gets fixed. So you'll see different places. Tomorrow I'll try to film the living room. Love you guys. Go ahead and hit like, subscribe, ring the bell notification if you can. If not, no big deal. No big deal. I'll see you later.